Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to our UML diagram series. In today's session, we will discuss more about deployment diagrams. Myself, I am Chandra. I'm going to explain you in detail how to write deployment diagrams, which are the artifacts which we use for writing the deployment diagram, and when basically we have to use the deployment diagram. Deployment diagrams are structural diagrams in nature. Deployment diagrams is a type of diagram that specify the physical hardware on which the software system will execute. Means when you go and install your software, whatever you have developed on a hardware in the customer location or in the cloud or in any of the system virtual machines, right? So this is a hardware. So this, how do you represent in diagrammatically, right? How many servers are involved? Which service is running on which hardware, right? So this is what is represented in deployment diagram. So this deployment diagram basically uses few notations. One is called node. Node is always used to represent the hardware component. Means if you have a server, you always represent that with a notation called node, which is like as shown in the diagram. Right? Very simple. A node can be written like this, which represent the hardware component or configuration of the hardware component it represents. Now, the second notation what you use is called components. These are nothing but the software modules or software functionality, software services, right? This always run on top of a hardware. Means usually you write the components within the node. Means this software should run in one of the hardware, right? So this is represented using the component. Then there are links to indicate which the way the communication is happening, association is happening from which server to which server is sending messages to which another server that is represented. And the artifacts are used to write the description, more details about these components and nodes and functionalities. We will learn more with a concrete example, and it's very easy, right? Every software which you write, you should have at least one component diagram dedicatedly showing how your system is installed on the customer location, how it's communicating, which type of protocol it is using, and so on. Now I have taken a very typical example of a web application which is hosted, right? Here you have got one server. This is called Workstation, means the browser where the client is trying to open some website and he is typing, opening his Chrome browser or Internet Explorer and typing www.xyz.com, right? It could be Google, it could be any other website. What does it do? It takes the HTTPS protocol and reaches to the server where it is hosted. Because when you type a URL, this is nothing but the IP address. So it reaches to the server where this IP address is located. There you have two components which are hosted. One is presentation layer, database layer, right? So these are the two layers what is running in that system, in that server, which takes the input and find out, okay, what client is asking, what the end user is asking. If it has to fetch some data, then it will go to the another server using TCP bar IP connection, and that is called database server. You could have one or more database server. You could have one or more other servers to provide functionalities, or for each of the service what you provide, you can have multiple servers, and you can make connection with the main server to fetch and interact and execute your business cases, right? And then it responds, and all the way the message goes back to the workstation. So what did we represent in this? In this representation, we stated that there are three machines, three hardwares. One is the client hardware, second is the web server, third one is the database server. Three hardwares. And in that component is web browser. It could be any Google, Internet, this Chrome, or it could be Internet Explorer. Any of the web browser is involved. It has got two software services called presentation layer and database layer, and a database service which holds the data and fetches the data whenever you need it. This is how you represent very simply in the state the whole deployment diagram, and it's very mandatory to represent these diagrams so that very easily the end customer can understand which type of hardware might be required, which services are going to function in which service, in under which hardware, right? If one service, some hardware fails, then only one service goes down. So that's how we represent it. So with that, we are coming to an end of UML diagram series. And thank you very much for listening. If you have not watched other diagrams, how to write it, please go ahead and watch them. And if you have some feedbacks, please do give your feedbacks so that we can improve further going and explanation in other video series. Thank you very much for listening.